Hi friends, welcome back to Farm Girl Diaries. My name is Caitlin. We're inside today because the heat has returned. So we had about a week and a half of gorgeous fall temperatures. It has me a little ready for fall, but the heat is back. And so it is the middle of the day and I have no desire to be outside. I have work that needs done. I did not take advantage of the cool weather and get my garden and work done, but I'm not doing that in this heat at this point in time. So I thought I'd come on. I had the idea for a video. I was hanging out with a whole bunch of friends a couple weeks ago and they were all small time gardeners. They just had gardens for fresh eating, one tomato plant, maybe one cucumber plant. They're all talking about how they started gardening to save money and to have fresh produce and how it doesn't actually save them any money. And so they ended up bringing me into the conversation because I know that I garden, and they said, what do you think? Do you think it saves you money? And I said, absolutely, it saves me money. And they kind of thought I was, I think, a little crazy. So I thought this would be a good video to talk about how you can garden, that it can save you money. And if I didn't have a garden, I don't know how I would be surviving at this point. The little bit of money that I have seems to just be allergic to me. It just keeps leaving me faster than I can accumulate it. But growing the garden really means that I don't have big grocery store expenses. So if you're new to my channel, I've been gardening this heavily, I think, I've been gardening for 6 years. I've had my house for 8 years, and the very first year I put in a garden, it was a complete and utter failure. I spent $100 on plants and I grew nothing. It was a massive failure. The second year I put in a garden in a new spot, and it was a fresh eating garden. It was a perfect garden. I love that garden. I still think of that garden fondly. It was just a couple of green bean plants, a couple of tomatoes, a zucchini, an eggplant, just a couple of plants, and it did so well. And it was in this really pretty, we had just built a like raised bed kind of garden with some old paper blocks that my dad had. And so it was brand new. There was no weeds. That garden performed beautifully. So that was the most perfect fresh eating garden. And from there, I started getting bigger, and I think every year for the next 5 years, I got bigger and bigger. And I think this is the third year that I haven't expanded my garden. It's as big as it's gonna get at this property. And so what has happened in my gardening journey is I realized how much that we are buying from the grocery store that I could make myself, and I can make it the way I want it. So not only can I make it the way I want it, but then I can cut back on the chemicals that is in the food. I can cut back on the sugar. I am somebody who I don't like sweet things really a lot. So a lot of times when you buy stuff from the store, it's too sweet for me. So like things like jams and jellies. When I make my jams and jellies, I don't put near as much sugar in them as store-bought does, because I think the sugar hides the flavor. You need a little bit of sugar to enhance the flavor, but you can go too far and kind of mask the flavor. Same thing with pie filling. I make all my own pie filling, and the recipe may call for 2 cups of sugar. I add in a cup. I like kind of lowering the sugar content because I think it tastes better, but then it's also healthier. So when I started gardening, I quickly changed into preservation mode. And I think one thing that helped me change into a preservation garden is COVID happened. I've always wanted to learn how to can, but then COVID happened and the stores were empty. We didn't get to go out much to go to the stores. And so I think that kind of helped me kind of transition my mindset into what can I grow and then make for myself. So things I never thought about making is like enchilada sauce. I make that, I can that myself, so I don't have to buy anymore. And I grow a lot of my own beans, not all of my own beans, but I grow a lot of my own beans. And so I can make anything with beans. I can make refried beans, anything like that. And it can go even further. One of my favorite like winter time snacks is jalapeno poppers. Just on a Sunday night, watching a movie, grab a couple jalapeno poppers. Well, I can grow the jalapenos and I can make the poppers and stick them in the freezer so that whenever I want to have them throughout the next 9 or so months after the garden ends, I have my own peppers for my own jalapeno poppers. So with that mindset, my garden shifted from fresh eating to largely preservation. And now the last 2 years, I've been trying to shift it into like a middle ground. So probably for 4 years, my garden was largely just preservation. I didn't do too much fresh eating out of it because I was too afraid that I was not going to have enough for preservation. So for example, my hard and fast rule is I grow at least 18 broccolis every single year. 18 broccolis, probably 4 years ago. Yeah, 4 years ago was the first year I grew 18 broccolis. I put all that broccoli, I don't think I ate any of that broccoli fresh. I put it all back in the freezer and it lasted me for a full year, which was great. It was fantastic. Last summer, I planted my broccoli and I had a massive slug problem. My broccolis got annihilated, so I didn't get any broccoli from the garden. So I had to supplement with some from the market, and I did, and it was fine. But to buy the organic broccoli cost me quite a bit. So I only ended up actually buying, I think, $9 worth of broccoli to put back in my freezer. So I didn't have a ton of broccoli throughout winter. And what I found myself doing is when I wanted a broccoli, I went to something else. And so that, I think, is the one biggest thing that if you want to have a garden that's going to save you money, you have to transition your mind from I want to have this right now to okay, we don't have this, we need to have this. So that's the other thing that I really had to learn in order to really maximize my garden and save me money. I used to where I work right beside a grocery store. I can walk to the grocery store, and I used to be in this habit where I'd be sitting at work, what I want to have for dinner tonight, and I would think I want to have, so let's say it's August right now. Right now I have tomato coming in, zucchinis, potatoes, peppers, all summertime crops. I'd be sitting here in this August day and think, you know what I want to have? I want to have asparagus and pasta and I don't know, snap peas. Well, none of that's coming out of the garden right now. So I would go to the grocery store and I would buy these other items that I didn't need. And so I found myself going to the grocery store at least every other day and buying crap that I didn't need. So I was spending so much money at the grocery store thinking I needed these things. And in reality, I had to transition and train my brain. And I kind of think of it as I'm not looking outside of my home for inspiration, I'm looking inside of my home. So instead of just mindlessly getting on like Pinterest and scrolling for dinner recipes, I would come into my house, look in my freezers, look in my pantry, look in my garden and say, okay, I have a ton of zucchini coming in right now. Go to Pinterest and type in zucchini recipes. I have a ton of tomatoes. Let's look up tomatoes. So I ended up having to change how I lived. And that was a big adjustment. That was a hard adjustment, but I was able to do it. And so now I don't go to the grocery store unless I need something. Now I don't say, okay, it's August, I want to have a meatloaf and macaroni and cheese and baked beans. I don't eat that way. It's August. I have tomatoes coming in. So for tonight for dinner, for example, I'm doing a BLT and I just have harvested a whole bunch of corn. So I'm doing a BLT with corn on the cob. So I've trained myself, which took a while, but I've trained myself to eat seasonally. And instead of looking for just inspiration in the whole wide world, I look to the garden that's producing. I say, okay, what can I eat from you right now? And then I also then look and say, what can I take from this garden and preserve into something else? So like I said, I have zucchini coming in like crazy right now. So I make zucchini relish. I make zucchini pancakes. We just found zucchini brownies, which I don't know if brownies are going to freeze well, but we've made some zucchini brownies already. Well, my mom did, and they were good. So I want to see if I can make some and freeze them, but I already make chocolate zucchini muffins. I freeze them. I just made a zucchini apple crisp. So I find these different ways that I can use up what's coming in and preserve it in different ways. Kale is coming in like crazy. I like to wash my kale, dehydrate my kale, and then chop it all up. You can either chop it up or you can blend it up into a powder, but then it's a great way to add nutrition to anything. It's just a ground spice that no one knows is there, but it adds nutrition into your meals. So in that aspect, the garden can definitely save you money. The garden can pay your way to Eden through spring and summer and most of fall pretty easily. Right now I'm not putting a lot of effort into the garden. The garden got planted, and even if all you do is plant it and you don't keep up on the weeds and you close the garden up in the fall, your garden can still produce you a ton of food that can feed you both now and can feed you in the winter. So the second thing about gardening that was really hard for me was I transitioned into this eating. I eat seasonally, I eat fresh. It's not coming in out of the garden, I don't eat it. So for example, I eat tomatoes right now. I eat tomatoes. Once my tomato plants come out in October, I will not eat a fresh tomato in this house until next June when my tomatoes come in. Now, if I go somewhere and they have tomatoes, that's one thing. But I won't go buy tomatoes from the grocery store. I don't buy asparagus from the grocery store. My produce comes from me. And that requires a lot of adjustment, right? I want asparagus now. I love roasted asparagus, and you can go to the grocery store and you can buy it. But I eat it until I'm sick of it when it's coming in. That way I have some time to kind of, okay, I'm okay not having this for a while. So like zucchini, for instance. I have so much zucchini. I eat zucchini until I'm sick of it, so that by the time zucchini season rolls around, I'm just starting to get in the mood for it again. So that kind of logic, or that kind of eating, is not for everybody. But that is the best way to help have your garden actually work for you, to save money, and to stop spending so much at the grocery store. The second thing that I really struggle with is, so I transitioned and I changed how I eat. I only eat seasonally. I really focus on what's coming out of the garden and how I can eat with that. The second thing is, I love a pretty garden. So I am always envious of other gardens. I want to be like all these other YouTubers that have all the money that they can bring in. Like there is a the most specialized bag of soil that I know about, at least. I forget what it's called. It's like Virginia something or other, I think. It's a bag of soil that a lot of YouTubers that I know use. You have to buy it online. It ships to you. I think you can buy it on Amazon. It's $30 a bag. It is $30 a bag. And all these other YouTubers are buying like pallets of it. They're buying 10, 20, 30 bags. I don't know how you're doing it. But that soil is fantastic. So all these people have these huge plants. They have gorgeous flowers. And I'm sitting there with my like $4 bag of Miracle-Gro, which I know isn't good, but I can afford it. Like, why can't my stuff get that big? So I definitely struggle with, I want to buy the compost. I want to buy the fertilizers. I want to buy all the things so I can get the biggest, baddest garden, that my garden is impressive, my garden is pretty. And this year was the first year that I was able to buy a couple bags of compost. I did build 2 new beds, or 3. I think I built 3 new beds. So I had to fill those beds. One bed I didn't even fill. I need to fill it this fall or next spring. I was able to fill it the whole way. All my beds need topped off. So I need to buy soil for all of my beds. And soil is expensive. I need fertilizer. I'm out of a lot of my fertilizers. This was the first year that I was able to buy a little bit, and I'm like, you can't buy it all. I didn't buy any fertilizer. I need fertilizer for everything. I need an all-purpose fertilizer. I need my potato fertilizer. I need my corn fertilizer. I need fertilizer across the board, and I was out of it. I think the only thing I had was nitrogen, and I use it for my onions. So nothing in my garden got fertilized this year, and it's still produced. So you can spend the money, which I have done in years past. I spent the money. I bought the fertilizers. I bought the compost. I bought all the things to make my garden Instagram worthy. And this year was the first year that I'm like, you don't have the money to do it. You're not doing it. And my garden still produced. So I think there's a lesson in that. You don't need to fertilize every week. You don't need to do all these extensive things, worm compost teas, and even buying the compost. You don't need to do that. Put your plants in the ground and you get what you get, and make what you get, make do. One of my things was potatoes. I grow potatoes every year. I grow a spring crop and a fall crop. So my spring crop came out. I think I planted maybe 2 to 3 pounds of potatoes, and I harvested a total of 22 pounds of potatoes. So it's a lot of potatoes. Is that a year's worth of potatoes? No. But I hope to have a fall crop. I hope that I have something there. But even if I don't, so let's say the fall crop is a wash. I have 22 pounds of potatoes. That's what I have for the year. I will not go buy potatoes from the grocery store. I have some potatoes canned. If an item calls for potatoes, I'll use something else. Maybe I'll use corn if it calls potatoes, you can't use corn. But instead of a side of potatoes, maybe I do a side of corn. So it's just, again, you can get what you get from the garden and then change in your mindset to eat what you have and not necessarily what you want. And that's hard, and not everyone wants to do that. In this society, in this civilized world where you can walk down the street and you can buy anything you want from the grocery store, it's not always the best thing to eat seasonally. and to not supplement from the grocery store and to deprive yourself. Some people say I deprive myself of fresh tomatoes in wintertime when I'm not growing them myself. Or if I run out of potatoes in the fall, then I don't have any potatoes until I harvest potatoes in July. Some people say I'm depriving myself. But it's just how I've changed. It's just how I've been able to change my eating. So not only do I like to garden to save money, I also like to garden because I want to know what's in my food. None of my food is touched with chemicals. None of my food has anything on it, anything in it. All of my food is completely organic. And there is a security in it. There's a sense of peace in that. That when you look, if you ever go down the rabbit hole of the Dirty Dozen, it is the list of, I guess it's the Dirty 10. Forget. Dirty 10, Dirty Dozen. But it's a list of all of these vegetables that no matter how much you wash them, they are still covered in pesticides. Peppers, strawberries, berries are a huge one on this dirty list. And so no matter how many times you wash that vegetable still has residue of pesticides and poison on it. And when you really go down the rabbit hole of our food security, and I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole, I could, but I'm not. But when you really go down the rabbit hole of our food industry, commercial food, especially corn, is sprayed with so many pesticides and so many poisons that the corn isn't affected by it. The corn is genetically modified. The corn isn't affected by that pesticide, by that herbicide. However, the corn still sucks up all of that junk. And then when it comes to us, it still has residue of the pesticide in it. I'm sure we've all heard of different times when things have been recalled. One of the ones that gets recalled a lot is Cheerios, because Cheerios, they're tested from the box, what people are eating out of, and there's still residues of pesticide in the Cheerios. And that's how it's happening. The plants that are commercially grown are genetically modified to not be affected by the herbicide, by the pesticide, but our bodies are not. So the plants aren't affected by it, but our bodies are not genetically modified. So our bodies are still being introduced to these pesticides, being introduced to these herbicides, and we're having problems. So the reason we have so many cancers, the reason we have so many health issues just in general, a lot of it can be traced back to our food and our food that is making us sick. The commercial grown food is not what is healthy for us. It's not what we are supposed to be surviving on. It's not good for us. See, there's the rabbit hole. I saw the rabbit hole. I went down it a little bit. We're going to come back out of it. So that's why I like to grow my own food too, is I know, I've done the research, I know how bad our commercially operated food system is. I want to bring it back home as much as possible. I want to know that the food on my table is healthy, that it's actually healthy. I eat this way. I talk about how much I eat this way to everyone that'll listen to me. So I think because I eat this way, because I eat whole foods and I really focus on my gut health. My gut health is a big thing. I don't get sick. I don't have any issues. I know girlfriends at work, every couple of months they get food poisoning, or they just have like something that doesn't sit right with them and they get sick. They get sick by illness frequently. I don't have any of that. I eat whole foods as much as I can. Everything that's in this house is whole. There's nothing that's processed that comes into this house. Largely. There might be a couple of things, but largely it's all whole foods. It's all I'm an ingredient household. I make everything from scratch. And I think that really has made me a healthier person. My friends in my life, people that are in my life, have commented on the fact that I don't get sick. And I largely think it's because I've shifted entirely to this system where I eat what's good for y'all. I eat what's good for me. And I put things in my body that are known for helping your immune system, helping to fight infections. Whenever I have anything going on, I have my own herbal medicine cabinet full of food and herbs that I'll take if I feel like I've been exposed to a sickness, or I feel like maybe I'm starting to come down with something, and I'm able to use food to make me better. To the point that it's been 2 years and I haven't been sick, even with like a sniffle in 2 years. So all of that to say, I do think our food system is broken. I do think gardening is the way to go. So while I think gardening can absolutely save you money, of course, once you get into it, you have to start your own seeds. If you buy your own plants, that costs more money. If you start your own seeds, that can make it even cheaper for you. Once you get the initial expenses out of the way, your grow lights and your seed starting set up and all that stuff, once you get that out of the way, then you can really start seeds largely for free, especially if you're saving your own seeds. But you can make gardening make you money. You can have gardening save you money. If you are able to transition how you and your family eat, you can have your garden really work for you, and to help put money back into your pocketbook instead of spending it at the grocery store. But even if your garden isn't saving you money, know that your garden is healthier than the grocery store. And so for me, even if my garden didn't save me the money that I know it does, it is 10,000 times healthier than anything I'm going to get at the grocery store. And that in itself is worth gardening for. So thank you guys for joining me. Let me know if you garden. Let me know if you think your garden costs you money or if it saves you money, or your garden why. Why do you garden? I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, friends.